Hello, everyone. It's Mike. All right, so I have a warning for people who suffer from borderline personality disorder. And if you are in a romantic relationship with somebody who does not have borderline personality disorder and is not in any kind of therapy, my warning for you is this: don't go get professional help if you want to stay with your non-borderline romantic partner. Here's what happens when you have two people in a relationship. If there is a major dysfunction, I don't care what it is, borderline personality disorder, alcoholism, drug addiction, gambling addiction, or other types of mental health issues that I don't know anything about. Here's what happens. When one of those people decides for themselves to get better on their own, and they decide to go to 12-step group or start going to therapy or both, or start working, a spiritual discipline, what starts to happen is that the other person will start to become more and more uncomfortable. They may have been the one complaining, saying, you need to do this, and you need to go to therapy, and you need to blah, blah, blah. But once you start getting better, whichever one you are, I don't care if you're the borderline or the non-borderline, whichever one of you starts to go and get therapy for yourself, the other person has to come along. They either have to start going and getting therapy themselves because they're still down here, right? So if you guys are together in your craziness and your insanity and everything, blah, 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 and then one person says, okay, hang on, I can't do this anymore. This is too painful. And the other person saying, yeah, that's right, you need to get your crap together. And you say, okay, I'm going to go to a therapist. And you start going to a therapist. Or you start going to a CODA. Or you start going to whatever. You start getting better. Then you start having a higher awareness. Now the other person down here is like, wait a minute, I'm down here by myself. Maybe you should start drinking again. Maybe, and they're gonna start sabotaging the relationship. So both people have to come up, and sometimes you can bring somebody with you. Most of the time, in my experience, you can't do that. In my experience, no matter what's going on, in order to get better, and you're in a relationship, each person has to decide for themselves that they want to get better because they want to feel better, because they want to recover. And usually one person wants the recovery more than the other. So I'm telling you, if you want to stay in your relationship, don't get help. Don't get therapy. And I'm talking to the borderlines as well as to the non-borderlines. The non-borderlines, the amount of denial is amazing me. I already knew going into it that this was the case, but I'm seeing the level of denial in the non-borderline codependents. I'm seeing, the depth of their unconsciousness is really quite amazing to me. So I want to share a couple of comments. One is from a self-professed borderline in treatment, and forgive me, this person has not, I haven't asked for their permission, so I'm not going to say this person's name, and they'll know who they are. And if you don't want me to use your statements, just let me know. I'll stop doing it. I'll even delete this video if you tell me to. Okay. So this person says, I've said that I'm in treatment for BPD, that I'm in a relationship for 2 years, but now my partner says he's walking on eggshells, that I drain him, that I'm destructive. I've been trying to do better and have been in therapy, but I guess it wasn't enough, and now he's feeling anger because it's been building up. He didn't speak up. So I have a couple of things to say about that. I bear in mind, I am not a therapist. Let me just be clear about that. I am not a therapist. I am not a licensed professional. I am not in any way qualified to counsel or help people, even though people keep asking me, those of you haters out there, people keep asking me to become a therapist, and I have not decided to do that yet. I don't know that I ever will. I probably won't. But anything I say, you are responsible for any actions that you take based on what I say, because I am not a mental health professional. I am simply somebody who has achieved a level of recovery from codependence with a borderline. That's where I'm at. Okay? So, having said that, I have some thoughts about it. Bear in mind, it doesn't matter if you're the sick one or the healthy one. I keep saying, and I'm going to get to another comment, which again is just, it's just anyway, we'll get to it in a second. I find it funny. I find it very entertaining and very educational. But back to this person. All right, so this person says, I'm in treatment for BPD. I'm in a relationship for 2 years, but now my partner says he's walking on eggshells. So it could be that because now you are in treatment, you're hearing him for the first time. That's a possibility. He might have been saying that this whole time. I have heard that borderlines oftentimes don't remember things that are said to them or things that they say. So to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I don't know, perhaps you're now hearing him for the first time and you're understanding now that people feel like they're walking on eggshells, because I experienced that as well with my borderline ex. Even in the beginning when she was love bombing me, I was always walking on eggshells waiting for me to say or do the wrong thing. So that is part of it. I would say that's probably his honest experience, but it's interesting that you're hearing that now. Could it be that he's now finally starting to tell you how uncomfortable he is because he feels safe to do so? Or is it because he is getting uncomfortable because you're starting to go to therapy? I don't know. It could be either one. The person goes on to say, I drain him, that I'm destructive. This is what this person says to them. The non-borderline is saying that that I drain him, that I'm destructive. I've been trying to do better and have been in therapy, but I guess it wasn't enough. So I don't know how long you've been in therapy. Based on what I've seen, which is not a professional assessment, based on what I've seen so far in my experience and research and listening to the borderlines on this channel especially, it may take years of therapy before it, quote, is enough. All right? But at the same time, you should be so proud of yourself. If you're honestly trying to do better and you're doing the best that you can, that is all you have, is the best that you can do. So I can hear in you wanting to, beat yourself up. If you can find a way to, realize that all you are required to do is your best. And if you are somebody with borderline personality disorder, you are going to continue to be acting from your dysfunction for a while, and that's okay. Nobody is expecting you to get perfect overnight. Okay, so let me just say that to you. It's totally okay that you are doing your best, and it's totally okay that you haven't achieved perfection yet. None of us have. All you're required to do is what you're doing. Whether or not your partner can be with you or not is a whole other issue. That has nothing to do with whether or not you're doing it right. Okay? Based on just what little I've read and my unprofessional opinion, I can't say anything other than, that's all you can do is your best. That's it. Makes me want to cry. All you can do is your best. Relationships are tough, though. So that's another issue. Now he's feeling anger because it's been building up. He didn't speak up. I'm assuming you mean in the past. So again, that is a good sign. It means that the therapy is working, because now he's finally feeling able, the pressure has come off, and he's now able to have his feelings. I had this experience as well. With my borderline ex, She wasn't in therapy, but she went through a phase where she came out of a really bad period where I had chosen to be there with her, and all kinds of craziness, and she did some abusive things, and I was really angry and upset. And when I saw that she was doing better, which actually she wasn't, it turned out it was a facade. But there was a moment of sanity. She had a couple of moments of real awareness there. And I felt safe to share my feelings. And actually, it was the smart thing for me to do, because if I hadn't done that, I would have just stayed in full-on denial, codependent mode, and I might have, prolonged that relationship longer than, because I needed to get out of there. For my own health, I needed to get out. But maybe because you're getting better, maybe this is a sign you're getting better, because now he has the ability to feel safe with his anger. So you're right, his anger has been there this whole time. He just was in codependent fixing mode. Probably. He didn't speak up in the past. Now he is. This is all a good sign. This person goes on to say, when we just got together, he thought that I was, so I'm assuming in the beginning, when we first got together, he thought that I was exciting and fun, but maybe he wants some peace and quiet now. Well, that's because in the beginning, you were probably idealizing him. So you probably were exciting and fun. That was my experience with my borderline ex. In the beginning, it was unbelievable. She was so sweet and so loving, and the sex was amazing, and all of that stuff. And so it was exciting. I'm sure it was. But that's what happens with, as you know, with borderline personality disorders, that you split. So the more that you can become conscious of how you change, and how you become disappointed and angry with him and all of that stuff, and how the dynamic has changed, then you'll understand, what he may be going through. So he wants some peace and quiet now. I don't know enough to say about that. I tried to change for him, but I'll always live in extremes. So, I had got another comment about this, and another person with borderline personality disorder said that, after I was talking about codependence and I was being ruthless about the codependence, she said, maybe I should add another title. Well, borderlines are by definition a form of codependency. So they are also codependents. So your need to try to change for him, wanting to change for him because you want to meet his standards may not be a healthy thing to do. Wanting to change for him so that you don't cause somebody unnecessary harm because it's healthy for you, that's a good motivation. I also understand you might not be able to tell the difference right now. If you're just starting out with therapy, you may not know if you're doing it for codependent reasons or if you're doing it because you honestly don't want to harm somebody. So it's okay not to know. But all you had to do, doing your best is all that matters. You tried to change for him. Good for you. Keep trying. You'll get it. But you're right. You will always live in extremes, and anybody who chooses to be with you needs to understand that. When I'm doing when I do spiritual counseling, and I do some relationship counseling, when people come to me, and people come to me because they're unhappy, and so they'll complain. They start complaining about their partner, and my partner doesn't do this, and he or she does that, or he said this, or this happened. And I get it, and I listen to it. And then when they're done complaining, which it's okay, I'm letting them vent. I don't have a problem with it because they pay me for my time, so it's okay. And when they're done, I say, so what do you want to do? And if they show that they want the relationship to continue, I say, so let me help you with this. Can you accept your partner exactly as they are? Completely 100% exactly as they are? Yes or no? The usual response is, Yes, but, and then they want to say, if they change this or if they do this, and as they start to do this, stop, stop. It's a yes or no question. You have to completely 100% be able to honestly say, yes, I can accept them and the relationship exactly as it is. And if they say yes, then I say, great, now I can help you. And then I do what I can to help them learn how to, have coping skills to deal with that person. Now, people, because you are a borderline, people are going to have to do that. So it might be challenging. I hope that this relationship works out. I hope that he's able to get therapy and you guys are able to grow together. But if not, then in the future you are going to have to tell somebody, let them know, I have borderline personality disorder. You should go check it out so that you know what you're getting into. Because then they can decide. And if they decide to be in it with you, then they have chosen to accept you exactly as you are and accept the challenges that come with being in a relationship with somebody who's in treatment for borderline personality disorder. So when I'm working with clients and if they cannot say, well, yes, I can accept the relationship and my partner exactly as they are, then I say there's only one option: you got to get out, because otherwise you're just going to make yourself miserable. You either accept them exactly as they are or you get out. So that's something he has to do. You're in treatment. That's all you can do. Do the best that you can in treatment. And you to continue to keep trying to be a better partner and keep trying to not cause them damage and to not, it's going to be really challenging, especially if you're just starting out. But that's all you're required to do. They are required, once they know what they're dealing with, they're required to accept you or not. Now, let me give you some potential bad news. Let me see. Let me continue to read this and see what it says here. I tried to change for him, but I'll always live in extremes, although I try, and I have mellowed out slightly. So you've made improvement. That's all that matters. There's a phrase in 12-step groups: progress, not perfection. All you're required to do is be better today than you were yesterday. And it's okay if you slip and fall. It's okay if you backslide a little bit, as long as on the whole, the graph is going up. So it sounds to me like you're doing everything you can and you're doing the best that you can, and that's all that you're required to do. I just think that he's realizing that he doesn't want that anymore. Maybe he thought we could settle down peacefully if he took care of me, that his love and care would change me. That is very likely. That is very possible that that's what he thought. And now that you are taking care of yourself, now he doesn't have his fix. Based on what I'm reading, it doesn't sound like he's in therapy for his codependence. If he's with you, he's a codependent. He got together with you when you weren't in, I'm assuming when you weren't in therapy, because your borderline disorder was something that allowed him to distract himself from his own issues. Now, this isn't something you tell him. Please don't take the things I'm telling you and use them as weapons against him. That's for him to figure out on his own. But you might be right. This is the thing. Maybe he thought he could fix you. And now what's happening is that you're fixing yourself, which means he has to spend more time with his own thoughts and his feelings, which may make him uncomfortable. So understand this. Just because you went into therapy, you were with somebody who was broken as well, because they don't end up with borderlines if they're not broken also. So it's absolutely essential, partners of borderlines who are in therapy, that you go to therapy yourself for your own stuff, for your own codependence. Because if you're a non-borderline in a relationship with a borderline and they're in therapy and you're not in therapy for yourself, I don't mean going and sitting for them in therapy with them and saying, yeah, the doctor is right, you need to do this. But you're there by yourself, looking at the reasons why you chose to be with somebody who has this disorder. You sought them out. Now that you've successfully got them to see that that they need help, good for you. Now guess what? Now you have to look at your side of it. And I'm saying this because if both partners aren't in therapy, it's doomed. The borderline will start to get better, and the non-borderline will become unhappy and try to pull them down and may end up leaving. So you may find out, because you've been in therapy now and you're starting to see some improvement, you may realize that your partner's not as supportive anymore. You may feel unsupported by them because they're not taking care of themselves, and you may grow past them. This is what will happen if you have two people in this kind of situation, and one person starts going to therapy. The other person, if they don't come up to that level, whoever it was, even if you were the problem, you're going to outgrow them. This happens with alcoholics all the time. And codependents, same thing. Alcoholics will go to or drug addicts, they'll go to Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous. And what will happen is that the alcoholic will start to get better, and the codependent, the partner of the alcoholic, stays where they were, and the alcoholic starts getting more and more conscious, and they end up leaving because, or the other way around, the person that was there and held their head over the toilet while they puked, and sat there and fed them soup while they were detoxing from heroin or whatever the craziness was, as when that craziness is gone, they have nothing to fix anymore, and they get upset because they're not the one fixing you. You're fixing yourself, and they then have to make a choice. They either have to get better and they'll leave. Happens all the time. So, my friend, I'm sure that both things are true. I'm sure that it is challenging, and I'm sure now that but also you're improving. Anyway, and then this person says a few more things, but says one thing at the end here. And codependents, I want you to listen to this, or non-borderline partners, I want you to listen to this. It's really important. And by the way, just let me say, especially those of you who want to attack me and you're making all these statements about how horrible I am, bear in mind, for every one bad review I get, there's 10 good ones from borderlines and non-borderlines. So, open your eyes and read all the other comments. You'll see that you may not be speaking for the majority here. Anyway, back. This person says, and listen up, partners, codependents, listen up. This person says, the more he tries to help me with my problems, the more passive and depressed I become. Because it's good to fix your own problems. It gives strength and confidence. Maybe he also likes to take care of me, to feel like he fixes stuff for me, that he can be the strong one, but at the same time, he goes over his own limits and feels drained. Absolutely right. Now you understand. I completely agree. I think this is very likely the case. That's why he got with you in the beginning. It wasn't, he thought, and you thought, in the beginning, he thought it was because of the excitement and the love bombing. But the reason he stayed was so that he could be the one in control. He could be the one fixing you. And he's doing that to avoid his own issues. When you fix yourself, like you said, when you fix yourself, it means that he has nothing to distract himself from, and he's going to resent you for that. Because you being sick is his fix. He's not aware of that. It's totally unconscious. So what you can do, I would recommend, if you were my client, you're not, but if you were, I would say that you want to have a better relationship with him, and you want to be a better partner for him, that you want to grow closer to him. Tell him, I want to make up for the problems that I've caused in the past. but I need you to understand me better because I'm changing. I would like for you to go in therapy yourself for codependence. Because, and you can explain to him if you want that I've heard that people who get together with untreated borderlines suffer from codependency. And say, I would love it if you went to a therapist and then we can go together. Or if you want to go on your own to Codependence Anonymous, I would really like you to check that out because I want to have a better relationship with you. If he refuses, if he says, I'm not going to therapy or I'm not going to go to Codependence Anonymous and I'm not a codependent, you're the one with the problem, then you're absolutely right. Then you know that what's going on is that he wanted to fix you and you were his distraction. He's not as supportive because he's not supporting you if that's the case. I'm not saying it is, but if that's the case, he's not supporting you in you fixing yourself because you're absolutely right. What you need to be doing is fixing your own problems. And he's forcing himself. Codependence, it's what I keep saying. It's abusive for you to force your love onto somebody that can't handle or doesn't want it. In this case, somebody who's trying to walk on their own, and you're saying, let me take up the slack for you. And like, no, I need to build up my leg muscles. Let me walk on my own. That's really abusive, not to let them take care of themselves. Please don't tell him I said he was abusive. Those are things he needs to figure out on his own. It's not your job to judge him. You can only talk about your needs, and you can honestly say, and it's a very loving thing to say, I want to be a better partner for you and I want us to get better. Will you please go to therapy for yourself? If he says no, you find out he's not as supportive as he thought he was. All right, so I had some other things I wanted to say in this video, but I'm going to leave this as it is because it turned out for me to be, I think, a really beautiful thing. And let me just say, you haven't given me permission, so I'm not going to say your name, but you know who you are if you see this. Let me just say first, thank you so much for wanting to heal yourself. Thank you so much for going and doing the really difficult work that you're doing. It takes such bravery, especially for a borderline. Seriously, I know that. And this is kind of, codependence, I put you guys on a higher standard because you're not dealing with the same neurological issues that, it's a mental illness. That's why I keep calling it a mental illness. It's not a put down. I'm with the borderline. They have a real physical disability in terms of just processing normal relationship stuff. You codependents, you're not broken in that way. You can choose. It's easier for you to choose because you keep telling me that you're superior to the borderlines. You keep telling me, and I can show you in the comments. People say that they're superior to the borderlines they're trying to fix. If you're so superior, then own your stuff. Look at yourself. Look at your selfishness. Look at your abusiveness. Look at your control issues. Look at your defensiveness. Look at your unconsciousness, your fear, your unwillingness to look at yourself. You're asking the borderline to go to therapy and do what I can only imagine is absolutely Herculean bravery. It must be so frightening and painful for them. They have to if they want to survive. I get it. They're under the gun. So they will, if they get it, that, wow, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be happy. But because you don't have that level of dysfunction, according to you, you don't look at yourself. So if I'm telling everybody, if your partner goes to therapy, you go to therapy yourself. Otherwise, I can guarantee you that the relationship you will either pull them back into their mental illness, or they will end up leaving you, or you'll end up leaving them. But in an ideal world, you both go to therapy, work on yourselves for yourselves. Then out of your strength, you can come together. Because if you got together with a borderline, you got together out of your pain and your weakness and your wounds. If you both go to therapy, then you can learn how to come together with your strengths. And that's when real love happens. All right, so I'm going to leave it here at that, because I think this is a really positive and uplifting thing. I really wanted to come at borderlines I really wanted to come at codependence, because now the codependents are showing their true colors in their comments, and I am going to expose them and I'm going to enjoy it. Ha ha ha. And remember, codependence, everything I say about you is true about me. So if I'm really harsh with you, it's the way I am with myself. So there's nothing you're going to say that's going to get under my skin or bother me or push my buttons. But I am going to come at you if I see that you're full of crap. This is a really good example of how the savior, the codependent, is actually now being harmful. Because according to this person, and I assume she's telling the truth and being accurate, I don't know, but I assume she is. According to this person, now that she's trying to fix herself, her partner is getting in the way of that because he's trying to fix her problems when she wants to be able to do it. And she's an infant trying to walk, literally. Emotionally, this is an infant trying to walk. You've got to let them, good parents, look, she's walking, yay. You let them fall and trip and they cry and they get back up and they, you let them do that because it strengthens them. To get in there and try and fix them when they're trying to fix themselves is abusive. They need your support. And it's not supportive to do it for them. This is a perfect example of how you thinking you're going to go in and save them is actually doing more harm than good. This is abusive. You're not thinking, and you get upset when I call it abuse. That doesn't mean that you're consciously trying to harm somebody, but you are unconsciously being very selfish. And that is abusive. All right, so I'm going to leave it there at that. Congratulations, you know who you are. I'm so, I don't really have the right to do this, but on behalf of everybody, thank you so much. It means I feel such pride for you. I was going to say I'm proud of you, but I don't know you, so I won't step over that. But I feel such pride for you that you have that strength and the ability, and I want to have that. You're a good example for me. And it's important to know that when you do the hard work of looking at yourself, somebody, maybe not your codependent partner, but somebody benefits because they see the example they see in you. And just the vibration you send out, you help everybody. So keep it up. And thank you. It really makes me happy to see that. All right, so that's it. Talk to you guys later.